If you are looking to scale your creative and marketing agency this year, I highly recommend watching this video because I'm going to address the single most common question I get asked by founders. Max, should I run my operations in Notion or in ClickUp? And if you don't know who I am, quick breakdown. My name is Max. I'm the founder of FlowClick. I have built and seen the backend of over 45 creative and marketing agencies, people doing from 50K per year up to 10 million plus, so 8 figures. And I have a YouTube where I showcase how real operations look like. And ideally, you'll work with me one day, and that's kind of a long-term shot. And most of the people think that Notion is perfectly fine, and you just put on a system, you work with it, but very fast, people realize like as they scale, Notion becomes a nightmare. And it's very easy to like start up, you create a system, you download it. Thanks for Eric for this template. You download the template someone else you have built for you. You just start using it. It's super easy to use and like just manage. And then as time goes, it basically becomes your biggest nightmare. So in today's video, I'm going to like specifically break down on why I believe ClickUp is the best long-term shout when it comes to building the entire infrastructure. And the fundamental difference between a platform like Notion and a platform like ClickUp is, imagine Notion like a pre-built, it's like a Lego pieces, right? So you have your Lego pieces and you build the entire system yourself, brick by brick. And in short, in this case, if you want a CRM, you have to build it. If you want a project management system, you have to build it. If you want a task tracker, you have to build it. ClickUp has this built in natively. And of course, if you're doing like 10K per month, 20K per month, if you're a solo founder, the system is totally fine because you can just use, you have one place to track your deals, you have one place to track your clients, your customers, you can just download a template. Very fast as time scales, this system basically becomes harder and harder to manage. And in contrast, ClickUp has most of these features already built in. It's like a project management system with, we have assignees automatically connected. We have all different tasks. We have, of course, the hierarchy you have to build up with. So you have the leads, you have the folders, you have the workspaces. So there is still a hierarchy to ClickUp. And in the beginning, it can be quite hard to understand, but like give a couple of minutes, like you understand the core concepts, you will have much more scalability when it comes to ClickUp tasks. So in ClickUp, a task is a task, right? In Notion, if you compare the two systems, I've used Notion for 4 years. I love the platform, right? In Notion, a task is just like a lead database. It's basically like a row, right? So if I press on something like a task, this is just a row. In ClickUp, a task is always a task. Similar thing like in Monday, a task is always a task. Of course, you can even customize it, but generally speaking, task is the default function of ClickUp. So you don't have to have the builder mindset. You don't have to like know how to build specifically. You just have to basically focus on your own operations. And that's why ClickUp is like being one of the major parts. Another thing which I've noticed probably by Notion is that the viewing is very different. Right? And of course, you can customize your own different navigations. You can have your contacts, your different lists and so on. But ClickUp specifically has a lot of different views which are natively built in inside of the platforms. Kanban views, documents of course is Notion, forms, calendar, Gantt charts, table structures, timelines, workload. Like there are a lot more structure-based things in ClickUp specifically. So at ClickUp, you have different views, such as the home view, you have the inboxes, you have the replies, you have the assigned comments. Already there, it becomes incredibly more powerful than Notion's normal features, right? Another thing when we talk about Notion compared to ClickUp is a major part when it comes to the project management is the time tracking aspect of ClickUp. So everybody might not track their own time, but if you're running an agency, you are selling your time, or at least you're selling a result that costs you time to deliver, right? It's the same thing. So ClickUp has built-in time features and has a big emphasis on workload, time estimates, and everything. If you compare this to a system like Notion, The main part here is you have time trackers that you have to custom integrate with some platforms. We have like some third party applications. It's much more clunky, and the chance the team actually uses it is much, much less. And it's very important to remember, because these kind of third party applications create more frictions in the workday. And you have to manually enter the entries. If you manually have to do this each day, if you have employees of 5, they probably won't do it because it's just like so clunky to use, and it's very, very hard. In ClickUp, it's very, very easy. And it doesn't always necessarily have to do something with hey, we track every single minute. It's more understand workload, how many hours you have assigned to yourself, and see how much hours you have left for the week. Another major part with ClickUp is the fact which is called dependencies and different relationships, right? This view. So if you have a client onboarding process, you go through different steps, such as, hey, we go through the business audit, we go to the Google business profiles, we go through the content. When you have this structure, it's very easy to connect ClickUp that until this thing has been completed, it won't move forward, right? So if I haven't attached a document, it won't let me go forward. A lot of these dependencies might not be as important when you start out, but when you have a team to manage, this becomes insanely powerful, just because you don't have to do this manually and do this yourself. Another major part of ClickUp, which differs from Notion, and ClickUp has a breakdown on this very fully, is the different automation examples, right? So recurring reminders, conditional automations. ClickUp has very, very powerful automations, right? So this thing here, we have some other pre-built ones, but this thing here, which is called automations, we can really make a big difference. And this is where a gap between Notion and ClickUp has very, very, very much difference. In ClickUp, you can basically automate all kinds of different systems to actually build automations. Sure, can you do this in Notion? Yes, you can connect Zapier, you can connect a platform like make.com, you can do HTTP requests, that also works. But in ClickUp, you can do all of this automatically, just based on the inbox-placed system. It's a very, very core difference of tasks being assigned, right? Now, one of the major parts where ClickUp and Notion kind of does collide, or kind of does differentiate itself, is in the Notion API, right? This Notion fella is very, very streamlined, and a lot of people do depend on Notion because, right, it's a great for writing. The main comment I see when it comes to Notion API is, okay, great for writing, great for content, right? One of the major things, it's just great at analyzing, seeing what specific thing it is, and just have as a database. The core difference between ClickUp AI and the Notion AI, which also might be worth talking about here, is that the Notion AI is connected with your entire system very, very, very natively. So you can see exactly everything happening in operations. So you can compare Notion as a great writing tool. It's great for big thinking. ClickUp API and ClickUp AI is very, very more detailed around the operation sides, and it's much more tailored operations rather than context or writing or picking up their own stuff. Now, of course, also super agents, AI agents, that I have a separate video for. So if you're curious to see, check out my YouTube. I have a full-on breakdown about super agents that Notion even doesn't have even closely. So that's beyond the scope here. Now, if you're currently using Notion and you feel hey, I feel bad, I'm not saying you have to stop using Notion. I'm not saying you have to stop supporting Notion. As a user of Notion for 4 years, I think it's great. But if you're looking to scale and actually build this long term, then I think having just an all-in-one platform for everything, ClickUp is super powerful. And something worth talking about is also the chat functions in the ClickUp. So you can replace basically your Slack, your Teams messages, or whatever else you have, emails, WhatsApp, to a full-on channel sequence in ClickUp specifically. So you can import your Slack, and then you can have all communications in one place, right? And that makes a huge difference. Like here, we've been talking about like beyond the Notion scope. Like it's basically different levels of systems. Notion is just like much more behind when it comes to this. So even though you like, hey, we have Slack for communications, we have Notion for like the task management, it's still like separate platforms doing separate things. In ClickUp, you can do everything in one place, and let alone using the super employees to help you out on a daily basis. So you have your own AI employees working for you. And I don't even need to cover the ClickUp docs like you're writing in ClickUp, because it's the same level as in Notion. So it's the same thing. Now, to wrap this up, it's very important to touch on that it's never late migrating systems, but staying in the same system for a long time could be a very, very big pain for you. So staying at the same place or having the pain of a 2-week migration. So agency founder, if you are like a solo founder, if you're a duo, keep your Notion, keep it as is, but start thinking about migrating sometime soon if you're planning to scale. If you want to learn how to build with ClickUp and these kinds of operations, you have my YouTube, you have my full channel. I have full-on breakdowns from my YouTube on how to actually build with ClickUp and actually scale your company with operations. And if you're curious to hear more, I have a booking call in my YouTube below. You can book. I'm happy to give you some guidance and audit and kind of help you for the next steps for your agency to actually have the best possible operations in 2026. So I hope you enjoyed a short breakdown of why I believe ClickUp is much, much better for scaling long-term rather than a platform like Notion, which is great for solo founders and people being in the solo entrepreneur or like duo space. Thank you. And if you're interested in hearing more, just book a call down below or see more of my content on YouTube. Thank you and wishing you a wonderful day.